Hello and welcome to today's recipe. We're going to be making a nice nutritional recipe and a twist on a household favourite of spaghetti bolognese. So this is going to be plant-based rather than meat-based, but you can adapt this recipe to make it meat-based as well, and I'll talk you through it as we're going along. So the first thing about this recipe is it's really quick and simple. There's only sort of two main ingredients that you need to prep, and that makes it ideal for midweek, or if you've got little time and you're rushing around. This is a nice, quick, easy recipe to get cooked up for the family. So we're going to start first of all with preparing the onion. So very important that we have a waste bowl with us so that we can put all our trimmings and wastes in, and I'll show you how to do the onion. If you haven't seen it, we do have preparation videos where you can revisit a more comprehensive way of cutting an onion and different ways of cutting onions. So today I'm going to show you how to chop this onion using the bridge and claw method. So first of all, what we need to do is, using a bridge, we hold the onion nice and tight and we take off the top and we take off a very minimal bit of the root, like that. That can go into our waste bowl. And then it's just simply of peeling the skin into the waste bowl. So moving on to how to prepare it. So again, using the bridge, we hold the onion, put the knife in between, and we cut right through the root in half so it's equal. This root will help hold the onion together. So it's nice and simple to make this into a dice. What we do is we just, again using a claw now we're using, this is a claw method, we're going to slice down, and the thinner you slice the onion, the finer the dice. If you want it thicker, just have a bigger gap between the lines that you're cutting down. And then we just turn the onion and we slice down again, and it's exactly the same method, is that the larger the gap, the larger the dice. And then it's always beneficial then to have a bowl just to put your diced onion in to keep your board clean, so that you're not overcrowding your board for safety reasons. And then for the end, it's quite simple. We don't waste that bit of onion. We just cut down by the root, and then we just cut down that way, and it makes the dice again. And all you're literally getting rid of is literally just the root part. So that goes into my waste bowl. And then I'll do the other half. Just be careful with your fingers, you don't want to slip and catch yourself. But this is why we use these claw and bridge methods, to keep it safety in mind, so that you don't injure yourself and cut your fingers. So that's the onion done. I'm going to just put that out of the way for a moment, and we're going to move on to mushrooms. Now, it's important that when you're going shopping that you actually look at the packaging and read the packagings. Mushrooms are very good, and as it says here, there's a sticker on this one that says high in vitamin D. So always read your labels, because that helps you choose the right vegetables to give you some nutritional value. So mushrooms are quite simple to prepare. We're going to wash these off because there's a little bit of dirt, so I'm just going to quickly swill these. So it's quite easy to slice a mushroom. We're going to use a claw method again, and we're going to use a little knife, and we're just going to slice down to slice them. And it's that simple. But if you have got young children around and little fingers who want to help you with the cooking, it's quite easy, and there's nothing wrong with just picking the stalk out and getting your young children just to pick them apart and break them like that, because it is going into a sort of ragu sauce, so it doesn't matter if they are a little bit chunky, and it's easy just to pull apart, and that's how you get the youngest children involved with your cooking. It's nice to cook as a family and get involved. It's something which you can then sit down as a family and eat all the lovely food that you prepare. So I realised that there's only 2 main ingredients to this to prepare, but the other ingredients are already prepared for us. So we're using some crushed garlic today, just to make it easier. We've got our tinned tomatoes, which again is just open and go. And our main protein today is the lentils. So it is a really nice, quick, easy dish to do. So we're going to the cooking stage now. All our preparation is finished. Just to make a note, we're in an industrial kitchen today, so there's a little bit of background noise of fans because we need them on to take the heat away when we're cooking. So for this dish, we're going to fry the onions and the garlic into 2 tablespoons of oil. If you wanted to substitute, this is a plant-based recipe, so if you wanted to substitute this with minced meat instead of lentils as our protein source, then I'd choose a 5 to 10% minced meat, just because it's lower in saturated fats and it's a bit healthier for your diet. Okay, so I'm going to start first of all by putting 2 tablespoons of oil into my pan. A bit too much, yeah. And I'm going to put this on to heat up now. You can normally tell when the oil's ready for frying because if you look at an angle and see the reflection of your kitchen light in the oil, you'll see it shimmering and moving. The other way to do it is, once it's heated up, is to drop a couple of pieces of onion in and wait for a sizzling sound, and that's the way you can tell if it's hot enough. So I'm just going to drop a bit of onion just to see if it's hot enough. Almost there. I can see the bubbles around the onions at a moment, so it's starting to come. So here we go. I don't know if you can hear that sizzling, but it's sizzling away here. I'm going to add a teaspoon of garlic now to this. I'm using the lazy, already prepared crushed garlic today, just because of quickness and easiness. You don't want to make the job too difficult, where you can buy things which have already been prepared for you, then it saves a bit of time and effort. So this needs to sweat down or cook down for a couple of minutes. You can always tell when your onions are getting soft by the onions going slightly transparent in appearances. So we'll just wait for those just to cook down a little bit more. So what I like to do is, when I've got my ingredients ready, I like to put all my ingredients in order I'm going to use them. So I've got my onions sizzling with my garlic, so I know my next ingredients that has to go in is my lentils, which is obviously our plant-based protein for today, and obviously my mushrooms are going to be the next ones to go in. It smells wonderful. If only you could smell what I'm smelling. So I'm going to, now my onion's gone translucent, put in the lentils. I'm going to give that a stir. It's important that every stage, when you add an ingredient, you give it a bit of a stir, just to have it nicely evenly mixed. And it's easier to incorporate next ingredients then. So I'm now going to add my mushrooms. I've lost another mushroom. You'll be careful. You do want to try and keep all the ingredients in the pan so you benefit from the nutritional value, not on the stove. And then these are just going to cook down a little minute to get the mushrooms just to wilt down a bit soft. And then we're going to add the rest of our next set of ingredients. So while that's wilting down, the next set of ingredients that we're going to be using is our tinned tomatoes, our stuffing mix, and some stock. So those mushrooms started to soften a little bit. So that's a good indication now that the tomatoes need to be added. As you can see, it's a nice, quick, easy recipe this. You don't have to wait too long between adding ingredients. It's quite a quick addition, and the main cooking is going to be in the 30 minutes when it's simmering. So I'm just carefully mixing it now, not too vigorously. I don't want to have everything spilling out over the stove. So I'll sprinkle in the stuffing in. Again, give that a little bit of a mix. And then we're ready to add our stock. Now for this recipe, you only need 200 mils. So each stock cube roughly makes up about 500 mils. So I'm just going to measure off 200 millilitres of that. That's about 200 mils. So give that a little bit of a stir. So I'm just going to let this now simmer down and cook for 30 minutes. And while we're waiting for that, before we can move on to the next part of this recipe. So we're halfway through cooking our ragu base for the dish now. At this point, if you wanted a more intense meaty flavour, you could add 2 teaspoons of Marmite. What's good about Marmite? Well, it contains vitamin B12, and you'd normally naturally find those in animal products such as meat, fish and dairy. So as we're halfway through the cooking process of the ragu, it's now time to get the pasta ready. So I'm just going to clear away and I'll get ready for the pasta. So I've been informed by a colleague that I've picked up a new tip apparently. That's an easy way of opening a packet of spaghetti. So I've never done it before, so this is going to be a first. Apparently you look for the weaker seal on your packet of spaghetti, and you have to then forcefully bang it on a table, and if it all goes well it should poke out through the top. So let's give it a go. So yes, second attempt, it did go, so there you go, a new tip. You just got to make sure you bang it hard enough. So the thing with pasta and spaghetti is that normally when you cook with it, you end up over portioning and you've got enough to feed the neighbourhood. So this is a little tip of getting the right portion for your pasta. If you want a portion for an adult, imagine £1 coin, size like that, and you actually form a hole with your finger and your thumb to actually be the same size as a £1 coin. And that's for an adult portion. For a child's portion, what you need to do is think of a 5p piece and do exactly the same but make the hole smaller. And that way you'll get enough portions for the people required. So we've got to the stage now where our ragu is ready and cooked, and I've got the pasta now cooked as in the spaghetti. I've already drained it, and just to make it easier for serving, I've just put a teaspoon of the rapeseed oil in just to stop it from sticking together and becoming a bit clumpy. So I'm going to show you now how to plate up a portion for a child and a portion for an adult. One of the good ways when you're doing portions for adults and children is that you could also put it on a slightly smaller plate for a child rather than use the same size plate, but that's just another little tip. So I'm going to take the spaghetti and I'm going to use a meat fork, and if you've got one of these, it's really easy to get your spaghetti out. So I literally just put it in, give it a little bit of a twist and a lift, and that makes a nice curler of pasta and spaghetti, and you literally can just slide that down. So I'd do one little curl for a child, and then for adult I'd do 2 curls. And then it's just simply to get a nice kitchen spoon to very neatly, well, it doesn't have to be neatly, but just to place your ragu on the top, and that's then ready to be served.